Goat Fantasy Podcast, Rage Trades on a Tuesday evening. Thanks for your company as always. We're brought to you by checkmyrate.au. Visit the website. It's free to use. Take control of your financial future. If you need a better home loan rate, talk to Brandon at the team and mention the Goat Fantasy Podcast, which is hosted by Drew Jones. And we're doing it a little bit different today. Unfortunately, the laptop was left behind in Geelong. Try to get a bit cute and actually charge it out in the concourse at GMHBA Stadium while watching training. And then we were ushered out when the cameras had to stop rolling, and I left it behind. So we're doing things a bit low budget, so apologies for the lower production values recording onto the phone. But I felt like it is an important podcast to do. For those of you in the community who are still engaged and listening to Goat Fantasy, we appreciate you coming back. And no doubt you've probably got a bit to deal with this week. On the injury front, I'm feeling for all the coaches who have lost a few quality players this week. So just to recap, Jason Horne-Francis suspended for one game. Zach Butters, a high-level syndesmosis, about to go in for surgery. He's out. Carl Amon is going to get that knee serviced. He's out for the next 5 to 6 weeks. Bailey Dale, shoulder injury against the Eagles. He's out for 5 to 6 weeks. Rory Laird has an ankle problem, a syndesmosis. He's out for 2 to 4 weeks for the Crows. Just left, right and centre, players going down. Aware of a few coaches who have 4 of those names. Then there's a cloud over John Noble, who got a cork for the Gold Coast Suns. In terms of good news, what I can bring to you is that Noble, almost certain to play this week, just needs to get through training as normal. The expectation was that he would bounce back this week pretty quickly from the corky, and there's no suggestion at this stage that that's going to linger over through the week and prevent him from playing against the Dogs this weekend. So he's not on the injury report, which doesn't always mean a whole lot. But yeah, we expect Noble to be named this week. And then for Lachie Whitfield, he's progressed really well. So I spoke about this last week. It wasn't a bad concussion in terms of the symptoms coming out of it, and he's progressed really well right through the week. So the expectation is he will front up for the Giants and take on Essendon on Sunday evening, which is great news for the holders. And then confirmation today from Matthew Nix that Hugo Hall-Kahan will return, so he comes in for Rory Laird. He would have come back into the side anyway, and I guess that maybe the slight silver lining, I don't know if it even counts, but Rory Laird was going to miss this week regardless through management. So those with Rory Laird, he was going to be out of the side anyway, but Hall-Kahan comes in to replace him. So hopefully there's at least a couple of names there where the bullets don't hurt quite as much, or you're having a player return. So that's at least some decent news. Horne-Francis only out for 1 week. If you can possibly cover him in your forward line, but it is tough. There's not a lot of cover on our benches from a forwards perspective, but perhaps there's moves you can make to get some coverage in the midfield. I know Fitzgerald was awesome last week for the Demons, and hopefully he scores well again this week. That matchup was pretty juicy against the Tigers. So, who are the players that we're looking at this week for our sideways trades? Can't get any rookies off field, but we can at least plug these holes with our premiums going out of the side. So, to be honest, let's start in defence because it feels like that's where the options are. So, if you've lost a Bailey Dale or a Rory Laird, where are we looking this week? So, Cal Wilkie, if you don't have him already, and I guess the sharp coaches probably do already have him, given his price and his output. He was superb last week, 190-odd in Supercoach. So Wilkie's an option for us. Dane Zorko returned last week. He's got a generous matchup against the Eagles coming up on Saturday night, and he's not ridiculously priced, Zorko. Josh Dacos has been in great form. Supposedly the run home for him isn't easy and isn't easy for defenders, but he's defying that the scale of hardness at the moment. Very impressive the last couple of weeks. The two that I really like this week, so Max Holmes, if you don't already have him, the Cats run home is fantastic. It feels like he's going to be a must-have for us. And then Brad Hill is the other one. Plays Thursday night against the Cats at GMHBA Stadium, but his numbers the last 3 weeks have just been incredible, with Jack Sinclair going down injured and now out of the side. Feels like he's a slam dunk. He's starting to get pretty expensive, but worth it for the output that he is producing. So we've lost Zach Butters in the midfield. Where are we looking here? So it's quite obvious that we want Bailey Smith in our sides. We want Jordan Dawson. Of course, most coaches would already have those two. Could you go Marcus Bontempelli this week? The Suns are a good matchup. Tigers to come for Bont. And he was always going to score well against the Eagles through the midfield. So Marcus Bontempelli, under $1 million in AFL fantasy. Do you go the form fantasy player of the competition, which appears to be Will Ashcroft at the moment, scored massive numbers again against the Bombers. He's got the Eagles on Saturday night. Lachie Neale in a similar boat was huge against Essendon. Both potentially tag targets, these two, and maybe Brady Hoff gets a look at them at Optus Stadium on Saturday night. The other one is Clayton Oliver, GWS. Great matchup against Essendon to come on Sunday, and Clary is just having a superb season, getting better as the year goes on. Looking fit, looking healthy, and scoring really well in fantasy. Potentially an option to come in for Zach Butters. And then in our forward lines, this one's a little bit more tricky, just because we haven't had the output across the board. Like, there's lots of names there that you could bring in. It could be Durham or Zach Bailey, Isaac Rankin, but there's just no guarantee of them getting a score. At least Brad Hill has been pretty consistent over the last few weeks. You can get him as a forward or a back, or a midfielder for that matter. If you don't have Rowan Marshall, even with TDK 1 to 3 weeks away, the matchup on Thursday night against Geelong might just be a good enough reason to bring him in for a 1 weeker. Supercoach, I know it's hard. It's a gamble to bring him in because of the limited trades, but in fantasy it feels like a layup bringing in Marshall. Wanted to throw out St Kilda's Max Hall, who's had a really good last 3 to 5 weeks. And he's had a great season, to be honest, but his fantasy scoring has been really impressive. So as a bit of a point of difference in your forward line, he's playing midfield minutes, kicks goals, lays tackles, and is having a really good run of form. So there's a few names for you. Not a lot from the rookie camp that we need to worry about too much this week. Those Gold Coast Academy guys are worth a look if you need a cheap downgrade option, or Oliver Franco from the Eagles. So there's your rage trades and your injury update from Goat Fantasy for this Tuesday night. A lot going on, and there's a lot to work out for your team. So I wish you all the best in making all the magnets work together, so you can get that strongest possible lineup out for this week. We'll have more content from Goat Fantasy. Having the laptop back will certainly help with that. But we'll catch you a bit later in the week for more fantasy content as we get set for round 19. Catch you soon.